treat it like Eddie Murphy and say, "Put your mouth on me." I'm gonna let that jar sing to me. Anyway, so welcome back to the pods. It's been an insane 15 days. Yeah, insane. Starting at Sheen. Shout out to Sheen Magazine. That was such a really lovely moment in time. We had such a good time. And, there's been a lot of stir about a lot of things. Pictures seen on the red carpet. There's been a lot of great things said. But there's also been a slight kerfuffle regarding Rick Ross and I in that picture on the red carpet together. Now, some people would say, well, she said she wouldn't take no pictures with the devil and she called Diddy the devil. But Rick Ross down and she just looked like she was so happy to be there and whoop-de-whoop-de-woo and blase, blase, blah. Now, there's an old saying and it goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And perception is the same way. You could be sitting there looking at a picture of someone that looks like they're smiling and having a good time, and meanwhile cursing the living hell out of somebody under their breath. How would you know unless you were there? Now, what I will say is there were cameras rolling, there were people recording, and they heard what was said. I don't think anybody's gonna let it out, though. Nope, I don't see that happening. And I think the reason why I don't see that happening is because nobody wants to admit that I signed the shit out of Rick Ross on the red carpet. I had already done the red carpet. I was in the middle of doing interviews. I was sitting backstage with Billy Porter. We were live online. Gary with the T came by, which is when we set up that epic podcast that I just did with him and his crew. And, it was fine. And then the next thing you know, one of the producers for the event came. She seemed a little confused and a little huffed by it. But, I wanted to, do my part and help her get through that moment as quickly as possible. And she said that I was called to come back to the red carpet. And I said, well, I already did the red carpet. And Odell said, well, babe, come on, let's just go. And he had the camera and we walked back out there. And that's when I saw Rose, the folded over faggot, the Diddy loving Diddyite, the baby oil magnet. Sure did. And I looked right at that motherfucker. And I thought to myself, this is some bullshit. And then I turned to Odell and I said, babe, this is some bullshit. And he looked at me and he was like, what do you want to do? I said, I ain't afraid. And I walked right over there to the carpet and they introduced Rick Ross and Jaguar Wright live from the red carpet of the Sheen Magazine. It was a total setup. And I knew it was a total setup. It was an intimidation tactic. See what I would do if face to face with a Diddy do I bop. Oh, and guess what? They found out. They were probably expecting me to go off on him, yell at him, scream at him, holler, brand him a Diddyite. And said, give me the baby oil. They probably were expecting me to do all kinds of things. Unfortunately for them, that didn't happen. I'm going to tell you why, because I knew I was being watched. I knew I was being filmed. I knew there were cameras and recorders everywhere. There was 150 witnesses present right there in that one area. That would have been the perfect place to gaslight me into acting crazy so no one would want to invite me to another award ceremony or want to work with me again or want to put me on the cover of the magazine. I came with the attitude of inclusion, community, and gratitude. I had everybody cracking the fuck up while we were doing makeup. Oh my God, I had them all laughing. I had those girls going. We came down and we determined that a bitch motherfucker is a bitch motherfucker, regardless of gender. It is universal. We also determined that natural beauty is the best makeup, and to not hide God's glory, but only elevate it. We talked to the young people. We had a great time. And every time someone was about to lose their head and I was present, I would walk over to them, tell them they were doing a great job, tell them everything was going to be fabulous, and ask, is there anything anyone can do to help? It was a very encouraging day. It was the kind of day that's now solidified our relationship with Sheen Magazine. And we're going to be doing more work with them and with the podcast. See, that's what happens when you never forget God's agenda. See, I had a moment right there on that red carpet. I could have chose what my flesh was telling me to do, which was kick that fake fucker in the nuts and spit in his eye and call him a Diddy-loving fucking whore. That's what I wanted. My body, my mind, my soul, everything was screaming for that. And then I remembered I wasn't there for me. I was there for God. I was there to represent God's people. I was there to prove that even in the midst of all of this hoopla, not only can I still remain professional, but I can be encouraging and I can be an inspiration. And after that, I went on stage and we killed it. I don't know if Young Jock could say the same after going on after me, but I will tell you that I definitely did get a standing ovation. So I'm hoping that they were still clapping when he got on stage so he could know what it feels like to have real applause in real life, not cued by Mona Scott and Love and Hip Hop producers. So I'm happy for you, Jock. I'm glad you got to feel what it feels like to feel real love, and not a machine giving applause. So yeah, I made a choice. And I stood there with that devil-loving dick suck. And they introduced us. And I turned to him. And everybody started flashing pictures. It was good versus evil. And good won. And they said, Jake, this is Rick Ross. I said, we've met before. A long time no see since Miami. And he said, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, you used to have the booth right next to mine at Club Bed. You don't remember? So I remember, yeah. What was going on in my table? I said, nigga, I don't know. I was worried about what was going on in mine. I said, but hey. And the moment where you saw me turn to the sea of cameras where Rose's face is folded up, looking all scrunchy, like a mad emoji, and me with a big smile on my face. I turned in that moment when I pretty much told him to kiss my ass. And I looked at everyone and said, shout out to South Beach. Good times. And everyone laughed. And Rose folded his ass around the carpet, and I left, and I went right back out into the sea of very people who were happy to see me. And, it was a moment for them that we won. See, they were setting up a whole gaslighting moment, having me go on right before Young Jock to see whether or not I would be intimidated by these demons. And guess what? I wasn't. Shout out to South Beach and Star Island, where all those victims were made. And a lot of them were video girls and extras in Rick Ross videos. The simple fact that they still call you Rick Ross and no one has made you give up Freeway Ricky's name. The simple fact that your entire legacy is a fraud. Capping off of a man who bootstrapped, whether legal or illegal, He didn't need to boule to make millions. All he had to do was believe in himself. You believed in Diddy. You know, we are not supposed to be intimidated by our enemies. Respect that they're your enemy, but never be intimidated. Never give them the confidence that they're running your confidence. Your confidence is supposed to be in you and God. Actually, it's supposed to be in God first, and then trust what God puts in you. I'm a smile in the devil face every time, because I already know the score. They lose. We win. You could win 90% of the battles in a war. And yet, all it takes is for that opposing force to have one great battle to end that war. And all of those battles you won will mean nothing. This is a war. It's good versus evil. Let's not get caught up with the scoreboard before the buzzer goes. And the game is over. You know, you could have 1,000,000 minions chipping at a petrified tree. It will never fall. It is fortified. It is petrified. It is impenetrable. You could get 1,000,000 minions, and the only thing they'll do is walk away, vibrating their damn self. And that's what's happening right now. Those of us who believe have been fortified, petrified, preserved, and they can chip at us all they want. In God's love, you'll never fall. You know, what's the difference between falling and flying? When you choose to fall, you choose to let gravity take over. You choose to fly. You choose to let gravity become a tool. See, gravity still exists when you're flying. So what's the difference? The intention of your energy. Be a petrified tree. Don't be fake Rosie. Don't do that to yourself. Always smile at the devil, especially when you kick him in the nuts. I guess that's why, they all feeling a little salty. Now they done tapped in Rayford. They tapped in Orlando. He got sat down, and now they done brought in all the rest of the special teams. Fucking Rayford. But, that's that. Be yourself. And be what God wants you to be. Stop worrying about what people think. We all need to be worried about what God thinks. Till next time, don't get none on you.